Good Wednesday afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to another video. And it is the start of a new month. And I told you I was going to bring my movies I watched in May. I have a total of 17 movies I watched in May. I got them all written down here. So I filmed reviews for a lot of these movies on my channel already, so I won't go too much in depth with the movies I already filmed reviews for, but I do have some additional movies I have on here. Some are physical media, and some are from streaming, and some are new theater releases. So let's get started with Jurassic Park 1993. And if you've been following my channel lately, you know that I started to watch Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. So I watched 4 of these this month. This was the original one from 1993. And this is my 9th favorite movie of all time. Everybody knows Jurassic Park by now, but it's basically a perfect sci-fi action adventure movie with dinosaurs. Really love this movie. That is Jurassic Park, 1993. And moving on, I watched Cliffhanger on Netflix, starring Sylvester Stallone, John Lithgow, and Michael Rooker. This movie also came out in 1993, and it was one of Sylvester Stallone's not so famous parts. He was, I believe he was a rescue helicopter pilot to help people stranded on a mountainside, and then he gets wrapped up in like this robber heist where John Lithgow just stole like millions of dollars, and his plane crashes and Sylvester Stallone has to come to the rescue. Really decent flick, and I haven't seen it in years, so I rewatched it on Netflix. That was Cliffhanger. The next movie I watched was Halloween 2, 1981, and I didn't watch the DVD I have here. That'll come for a later time. But I watched this on Tubi just for the fun of it. And it picks up right where the first one left off. And Jamie Lee Curtis is now a patient in a hospital recovering from her trauma. And Michael Myers strikes back. And we know how this ends. You think it was going to be just a 2 and done. But later on, we got Halloween 4, The Return of Michael Myers. But anyway, I've always really enjoyed the original sequel. And that was Halloween 2, 1981. And to be clear, I just literally watched that randomly one night. I will be doing a Halloween run through coming up at the end of August. That should be 12 weeks leading up to Halloween Ends. So you'll see my full complete thoughts on Halloween 2, 1981. Stay tuned for that review. I cannot wait to bring it to you. But moving on, the next movie I watched was Doctor Strange, 2016. And this, of course, stars Benedict Cumberbatch as a surgeon who gets into a horrible car accident, and he loses the ability to use his hands. So he goes to Carmitage to find healing, and he becomes the Sorcerer Supreme. This was a very solid MCU entry, and it's literally Inception on steroids. I definitely enjoy this movie. And I also have a review for this and the next movie I'm going to talk about, which is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This was the first movie to release during the summer movie blockbuster season, and it picks up with Doctor Strange being more powerful, and Wanda is now the Scarlet Witch, and she tries to wipe out the entire world, including the multiverse. I really enjoyed the sequel. It had a lot of horror elements to it, and it was just an all-around great time. And I also like the inclusion of the Illuminati, which, spoiler, you have like Reed Richards, you have Charles Xavier, you have an alternate version of Captain Marvel, and that's all I can remember right now. But when I do a rewatch of it, I'll remember then. But yeah, you can check out my full review on Doctor Strange and Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Moving on to the remake of Evil Dead. One of my all-time favorite horror remakes. I literally watched this the day after I watched Doctor Strange 2, just because I wanted a fix of Sam Raimi inspired horror, if that makes any sense. I know this is just directed by Fede Alvarez, and this came out in 2013, and it has some ideas from the original. I mean, it's youths go into like a cabin in the woods, but this time our final girl has drug issues, and they take her to rehabilitate her, and one of these guys reads the Necronomicon, and all the evil shows up, and all evil shows up. One of the bloodiest finales I've ever seen in any horror movie ever. This is a really, really fantastic remake. So, that is Evil Dead 2013. Moving on from there, I rewatched Full Metal Jacket on Netflix. And, I've only seen this movie twice, and it takes place during the Vietnam War. Stars R. Lee Ermey and Vincent D'Onofrio. R. Lee Ermey is this very, very hard-ass drill instructor that just wails on these recruits. He especially wails on Vincent D'Onofrio, which is very unstable. And if you haven't seen Full Metal Jacket by now, you know what happens. He just snaps and just shoots R. Lee Ermey dead and then shoots himself. It's a really, really brutal movie, and I really enjoyed it. So that was Full Metal Jacket, directed by Stanley Kubrick. And I believe this came out in 1987. Moving on. The next movie I watched was The Lost World Jurassic Park. This is the direct sequel to Jurassic Park, obviously. This movie came out 4 years later, and this only brings back Ian Malcolm, and he just goes to the island and he's overtaken by InGen. Still a rollicking good time, and it's a really worthy sequel. You can watch my review. Moving on, but that was The Lost World Jurassic Park. I'm halfway through this list. The next movie I watched was Extraction on Netflix. And this stars Chris Hemsworth. This movie came out in 2020 during like the pandemic, so it was worthy to be on Netflix. But this is about like a soldier, or maybe he's like special forces. He's from like Australia, and he tries to get this kid out from Bangladesh that is the son of a wealthy drug dealer. Very good action movie with some really good fight scenes. I really enjoyed Extraction. And if you haven't watched it yet, you can watch it on Netflix. Moving on to Firestarter 1984. And this was a first watch for me. I really enjoyed this movie, but it is not as good as the book. The book is way better, but I do believe that this movie follows the book better. Still a very solid performance from Drew Barrymore, and it's just about like a girl who can start fires with her mind, and she's on the run from the shop with her dad. So that is Firestarter. And now I got Firestarter 2022, a direct remake of a movie that I don't think should have been remade. Thanks, Hollywood. But this also has ideas from the book and the movie. But the girl is in like a school environment, and you don't even like focus on the shop or Rainbird's friendship towards Charlie. I do like Zac Efron in this movie, though. I think he was the best part of this entire movie. But I just did not care at all for the Firestarter remake. And then, moving on to, I watched Class Action Park on HBO Max, which was a documentary about Action Park, which was labeled to be the most dangerous amusement park in the United States. The park was open in the 80s and closed in the 90s. And this documentary just focuses on everything that happened there and all the deaths that happened there. There were 6 deaths, including 2 in what is called the grave pool. It's pretty morbid stuff, but I really enjoyed this documentary and like all of the craziness that even happened there. If you haven't watched Class Action Park, I definitely recommend it. It's a really good documentary. But that is Class Action Park. Moving on, I have Jurassic Park 3. Again, I have a full-length review on my channel, so this brings back Sam Neill as Alan Grant, and he's just rephrased that. His parents want him to find their kid on this island filled with dinosaurs. There we go. But this one is one of the weaker ones, but it's still a really fun time. And that was Jurassic Park 3. And we only have 4 more movies to go. And the next one is a doozy. Oh boy, I've been waiting to talk about this one. The next movie I watched was Men. And I'm still reeling about what I actually watched. But Men was a new A24 horror film, I think. And this was directed by Alex Garland of Ex Machina and Annihilation fame. And this was just his vision on horror, especially with religion. And this is about like a girl who recently lost her husband to a divorce. Then the husband committed suicide. So she goes to this cottage in the English countryside, and she's greeted by this thing, and then things start happening really graphically, and I never want to think about this movie ever again. Just watch those last 10 minutes if you dare. But yeah, this movie was strange. And I just didn't like it. And I can really care less if I rewatch it. I definitely don't recommend this movie at all. Moving on to Jurassic World. And this was the 4th in the series. And a new franchise was born with Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard. And this has aspects of the original trilogy, but Jurassic World is now open. But things go awry when a new dinosaur emerges. This was a very solid movie, and it might actually be my second favorite of the entire series. So look forward to my whole ranking. And that was Jurassic World. Oops. Now 2 more movies. And I have to say, these next 2 movies, easily my favorite movies of the entire month. And I just filmed the review for both of these movies. So I'm going to pull them up anyway with Top Gun 1986. This was directed by Tony Scott, stars Tom Cruise, Anthony Edwards, Val Kilmer, Tom Skerritt, Michael Ironside, Kelly McGillis, you name it. But this is about like a reckless Navy fighter pilot who gets into trouble with his commanding officer, and he's ordered to Top Gun, which is a school that teaches fighter pilots in the Navy for real-world situations. I can probably spend another 15 minutes gushing about both of these movies, but I'm just going to keep this brief and say This was one of my all-time new favorite movies ever. I loved Top Gun. I loved the chemistry towards Maverick and Goose. R.I.P. Goose. And I even love the new friendship towards Maverick and Iceman. I cannot say anything bad about this movie. I love it. I'm still thinking about it. Hell, I'm just going to come out and say it. I watched this twice this month. Where has this been my entire life? And it is definitely good for many, many rewatches. I love this movie, and I don't understand the hate for it. People just don't like good action or Tom Cruise, which I don't get. He is fantastic in this movie, and those are my thoughts on Top Gun. And now the last movie. If you don't know by now, it's Top Gun Maverick. This movie was probably even better than the original. I'm still like reeling from how good this sequel was. One of the best movie sequels I've seen in years. And this takes place 36 years after Top Gun. And Maverick is back. He goes a little nuts in the beginning, but he is invited back to Top Gun to teach new graduates about a real world situation. This story is better. The characters are very well fleshed out. And you also have that dynamic towards Rooster, which is Goose's son, played by Miles Teller, to perfection. I think he should get like a Best Supporting Actor nomination. That's a long shot, but who knows, it might happen. And then you also have that villain. Well, I wouldn't say villain, he's more of a rival to Rooster, and that was Hangman, played by Glenn Powell. I really, really enjoyed this character. I mean, he's cocky, but he like literally comes back to save his friend. This climax is unbelievable, and I cannot stop thinking about this movie. Especially when I heard Lady Gaga's new single, Hold My Hand. One of the best movie songs I've heard in years. And I really don't pay attention to movie songs quite often, but this one is probably one of my all-time favorite movie songs. Top Gun Maverick just came out on Friday, and it's already nearing like $200 million at the box office. This movie is going to be huge this summer. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it, because it is fantastic. And I am going to end my thoughts on all these movies I watched, all 17. Man, I was busy this month. But, yeah. That's the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And you had to endure like 25 minutes with me. But I have Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom coming up like tomorrow. I'm actually thinking about just putting on Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom as soon as I'm done filming. So look out for that review. And then I'm probably going to do a couple bookish videos coming up pretty soon too. And I'm thinking about doing like a summer TBR, a graphic novel TBR, and a Kindle TBR. All not in that order, but they will come eventually. I will also have my Jurassic World Dominion review and Jurassic Park and World ranking coming up soon. I'm going to have Lightyear. I'm going to have Elvis and the Black Phone all coming up this month. So another very busy month, movie-wise, and maybe book-wise. So that's all I'm going to have to say for this video. Hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you for my Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom movie review tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Peace. I'm out of here.